All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back. Happy Monday. I say the same exact thing every single week. Here we are. Episode, what is this? 254. We're talking about how business owners should be curious and how that's okay, and how to forge ahead into the future under your own terms.
I like it.
All right, that's what we're talking about today, so I'm glad you like it. All right, before we get going, we always start with our
opening takes.
Opening takes, which may or may not have anything to do with the episode. Actually, mine does today.
I think mine could relate, I guess.
All right. Are you going first or am I going?
I can go first. Mine's quick. We talk about this, I feel, a bit, and I see it everywhere, about what this generation won't do. They don't do it like we did it. They don't understand, blah, 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 on and on. And Todd and I say this generation is most of our salon right now, most of our staff. But anyway, it's a kind of what we are talking about. Focus more on what they do. What do they bring to the table? You don't need a bunch of you in your salon. You need all different types of people. And this generation offers a lot of positive feedback and a lot of pros to your salon environment. But if you don't find out what it is that they do bring to the table, and all you do is focus on what they don't bring to the table, you're going to just sit there and you're going to be at a loss. I find with our staff, it's amazing to me when we offer something like we're going to change this or we're going to do this. And because they buy into what we're doing at Hello, they embrace it. They actually enjoy it. They might not at first, but then they show up and they do everything that we ask of them. They want to be pushed. They may not admit they want to be pushed, but once you do and you find that delicate balance between each individual and how to push them the right way, they are so excited to grow and move forward. So yeah, just focus on what this generation does bring to the table rather than what they don't.
I like that.
Thanks.
It's like looking for the positive. It's something that or something we both say, and we've said to our staff in the past, is that it's easy to focus on what you don't have and overlook what you do have.
Right.
Because a lot of what on the internet is just bad advice, and it's all focused on the negative. And it's, how do you come up with a cancellation policy? Because people want to look at the one bad thing that happens in their day, which is, say, a cancellation in that example, and they want to combat that instead of asking a question, how can I make things better for the clients that I do have, the ones that do show up? And then what that will inevitably do is attract more like-minded people like that, and then you don't have to worry about cancellations because
they'll be so few and far between.
Exactly. So it's just people focus on. I think that fits perfect into this episode because we're going to get into asking different questions and that sort of thing, which we've talked about before. My opening take is to stop letting the past dictate the future because it doesn't work that way. So somebody recently had said their July was really slow. Okay, cool. A lot of the advice people were giving wasn't advice. It was just co-signing, saying, yes, us too. Or July is always slow. Or there's nothing you can do about it. One person said, I was told 25 years ago, you can never stress about J months because they're just proven to be the slowest. And I thought 25 years ago, somebody said something and you haven't questioned it since.
Or you don't want to.
Yeah, that's wild to me. So that's actually where I think this episode came from, is everyone in that comment. I had posted some advice and I was like, you have to take a more macro approach. So you're saying that I'll just lay this out since we're already here. You're saying that your July is slow. Is your July slow compared to your June? That's what they were complaining about. Okay, cool. So not every month is going to be your best month. So what does your July look like compared to previous Julys? And the person was like, well, I'm actually up 25% from last July. And I was like, okay, so you're up double digits. You're outpacing inflation. You're doing all the things. And the fact that you're asking this question and not just settling for, it's just slow, those are all good signs. So I think that leads us into this episode. So you've got to be curious and you have to be okay with asking different questions and questioning things. And Let's just get into it. Something that we've noticed, and we've talked about this a million times, is somebody posts something. Say somebody posts a reel and it does well. It goes viral, right? Cool. Good for them. Everyone copies it. Say somebody doubles their price and posts, I doubled my price. A bunch of people copy it. Say somebody changes how their compensation works for their team and they're like, this is what I do. Everyone just copies it. And a lot of people don't know why it worked. They don't know why it worked for that person. They're not asking questions, will this work for my business? They're just copying. Why is everybody copying everything else? This industry is very much a copycat industry. Mm-hmm. It is very much monkey see, monkey do. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean that in nobody seems to know what they're doing, or a small percentage of business owners in this industry seem to know what they're doing. So they just blindly copy other people that might not know what they're doing. So then it's the blind leading the blind. And then we're just giving up on J months because that's what somebody told us to do
25 years ago.
Exactly. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So a lot of people copy what they see as success. And I think that the best business owners out there study success. And so it breaks down to you're copying outcomes versus understanding the causes and the underlying things. Again, somebody grows on Instagram, people will just copy that content. More curious, like a tier A, what we would say, owner would go, why do people care about that? What is that? What's going on there? Mm-hmm. A lot of people would ask the question, how should I raise my prices? I think a better question might be, what would have to be true for a price increase to make sense? And then answer those things. Mm-hmm. What else did I have? I think I had another example. Here we are. Someone builds a culture and they're talking about how cool their culture is. And a lot of people would say, what are your meetings look like? What are you telling people? And I think a better question would be, what belief created that culture, for example? And so if you don't understand why something worked, you can't intentionally repeat it because you don't understand the why. And without the why, you can't replicate it. You can't build it again.
When people are like, what do you guys all charge for this? And
yeah,
it doesn't even make sense because what I charge for something and what you charge, our numbers are different. Our bills are different. All of our metrics are most likely going to be extremely different. So there's no way to compare that. The better question is going through your numbers and what do you need to make and build in your profit. And it's very individual to each and its own business.
That's a great point, Jen. So somebody says, what do you charge for haircuts? What's the percentage? There's a very small percentage of salons that even profit.
Right.
Most are breaking even or losing money. So all those people in the comments that are spouting off answers of what they charge, why would I give a crap about what you charge if you're not a profitable business?
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
Then you're setting yourself up to fail without even thinking about it because you think somehow their advice will make you, more successful than them? You're even just copying them.
Right. Even if they charge more than you, they still might be losing money every year. You had that happen in your last salon. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's just wild to me. One of my least favorite phrases, I think, and people probably know this who have listened to any amount of these podcasts, but that's just how the industry works. Mm-hmm. That's just how it is. That's one of my least favorite sentences ever, because says who? Says who? Why don't we, let's look at a couple things. A lot of people will have assigned stations. We shift our stations. Nobody has an assigned station. We own the stations, not the staff. That's a different way of thinking about it. It's something simple, but it's a different way. Now, what about traditional apprenticeships and how apprentices should be sweeping floors for 10 years? Mm. We flipped that script and we asked, how could we get this apprentice generating their own income and build them a clientele before they're even a licensed cosmetologist? Right. And guess what we've produced? That, not people sweeping the floor and being a drain on the business. And they're happier. And they're part of our culture now because we've asked those questions. What about having a front desk? A lot of people out there are like, I could never not have a front desk because people will go somewhere else if we don't answer the phones and blah, blah, blah. We don't have a front desk staff. Now, I don't know that that's revolutionary. I think lots of salons don't have a front desk staff because it's just a massive overhead. And when people do have, at least the people I've worked with, big front desk staffs, they're a drain on the business.
Mm-hmm.
They do not want to generate their own income.
Right.
And the owners are okay with that. And that's fine. But you're losing now 30, 40, 50, 60 more $1,000 a year for somebody to answer a phone that
gives you very little return on investment, if any.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think too, this is where a tier A salon owner would look at this like let's go the front desk staff, because I think that's a big one, would say, how could I, or what would it look like if I didn't have a front desk staff? You entertain the idea first, right? You're not just like, I'm going to get rid of mine because Jen and Todd said so. Never do what we said. Figure it out for yourself, right? But the person that's going to be curious is going to be like, what would that look like in my salon? And the other salon owners are going like, my staff would hate that. Everybody would quit. It's never going to work. They just go right back to what I was saying in the beginning, the negative, right?
That's how it's always been done.
That's how it's always been done. This is what we've always done. So this curious mindset just goes, what would this look like? It doesn't even mean that you might adopt this idea. The idea is that you're curious and you're like trying to be more innovative to be like, what would that look like for my salon? And once you lay that out on paper, now you could decide if it's something that seems like it would work, how you would implement it, and you'd go ahead and do that in a very curated way, which is what would make it successful. But doing what just people say, or even doing what we just do because it works for us, you should be figuring out what does that look like under your roof.
Marketing and hiring are two other things that I had for examples of people would say, this is just the way it's done. But we asked, is there a better way to doing those things? A lot of salons just hire anybody that walks through the door because they're so fearful that they need people, that then they're putting out fires for the rest of the person's time there, and then that person's ruining their business. We've seen that how many times? A lot.
Often.
A lot. And we've seen it in our own business. Not necessarily hello, because we have learned now how to deal with those things ahead of time, but we've seen it like pretty often. We saw it at your last business. There are just people that come in, and because you have that scarcity mindset and that fearfulness, I'll hire anybody and hope that they work out, even though I don't have time to train them because that's just the way it is.
Right.
Even just if I would just go back to what Jen said, if you're curious about making changes at your business, just ask, is there a better way? Or even, is there a different way? What would this look like? And just ask those questions to yourself. Brainstorm with a friend. I don't know. Text me. I love brainstorming. Just be okay with not being okay. As innovation too, innovation doesn't begin with certainty. It begins with questions. How can we improve this? How can we change this? Or how can we just shake this up? When we set out to build Hello, we didn't want to build what you had built before. We didn't want the same stuff.
Yeah.
Because what would have been the point of that? But you see a lot of people that go off to open their own salons, and it's literally a carbon copy of their last salon, down to how they celebrate staff being there for a year, down to how they post about stuff, down to how exact word for word, same exact product lines. Like nothing's changed. Right. They just think, I'll just do this and people will work for me because it's different.
You left somewhere too that you weren't happy, and you're doing the same thing.
Yes. And that might work for a little while because when stuff is new, everything's perfect.
Right.
But eventually you get to what I've heard referred to as the messy middle. And I think we have an episode on that.
We do.
Actually. And so that's when the honeymoon is over and people start to actually see what's going on, which is nothing really different at all. And maybe you've made all these grand promises, but Jen, you talk about this all the time. You promised the world because you were like, we're coming from this and I'm going to promise the world. But then eventually you're running out of funds because you can't just give everyone everything for nothing.
Right. And you start to realize you have to run a business and that you can't deliver on anything you said.
Yeah. So, I would just ask yourself different questions and be okay with it. And we're going to get into that too. So
I think change is uncomfortable. Change and growth is not easy to do. And I think, what?
I said, I love it.
Yeah. Well, you do. I think for a lot of people, the minute they get a bit, even like a little sliver of uncomfortableness, they just stop and they go right back to where they were. I was one of those. I talk about it often. And when we set out to start Hello, I was like, I want something different. But when we started doing the steps to make it different, I was like, I don't know about this. I don't know if I can do this. It is not easy to change and grow and be uncomfortable and go through all those steps for a better, that you hope, result, right? But for most, you're going to be like, this sounds great. I want to do these changes. And the minute you get pushback or the minute it's a little uncomfortable, you just stop and you're in a now kind of a crossroads. Do you keep going? Even though there's pushback, pushback doesn't even always mean that it's negative. Some might be, I don't understand it. Some might be just processing it. But the goal here is, if you have run through all these scenarios and you love this idea and you want to make these changes, is that you have to accept pushback, all kinds of different things in order to get to the other side.
Yeah, it's definitely not. I'm probably, I don't want to say that I'm rare or different or anything, because that's always weird to say, but I am somebody that likes change because I guess I get bored.
Mm-hmm.
And if you keep things the same for too long, it can get boring.
Yeah.
And to me, my brain equates that with complacency. I'm not actively trying to change anything. And not that you should change stuff all the time, but you should at least explore the options. You should at least have the conversation if you have a business partner or a friend or whatever, or have the conversation with yourself. It doesn't matter. You should at least be willing to look at other things.
Yeah.
And that's even enough for me. Sometimes I'll think of something and I'm like, all right, that's a good idea. Let me think about this a little bit, and I'll flesh it out. And then I'm like, all right, this could work. I'm going to bring this to Jen. And sometimes I'll admit, I'll come up with an idea. I'll think about it for a little bit and I'm like, all right, this could work. I flesh it out a little bit and then I'm like, I'm not bringing this to Jen. She's going to spin kick me. That's a stupid idea. But the point is that I'm thinking about it.
Right.
And that's exactly what built Hello. So curiosity is what built Hello. When we look back at Hello, almost nothing that we've built. I guess there has to be examples somewhere, but almost nothing that we've built so far started with us asking, who's the biggest salon? Who's the best salon? Let's copy them. Instead, we asked those questions like, could apprenticeships be different? Could our hiring system be different?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, for example, with hiring, I know we've talked about apprenticeships a lot recently, but for example, with hiring, a lot of people will do a technical interview, and that's how you get the job. For us, technical interview comes after you have the job.
Right.
And it's a small flip, but it's made a massive difference to the business because those people are super relaxed now. They already have a job. Right. We're just trying to figure out how we can best support them with education.
Right.
So we looked at how could consultations be different? How we looked at our website. How could a website educate people instead of just advertise? These are questions that we're asking. Could salon owners, this is more with our podcast than Hello, the Salon, but could salon owners learn from industries outside of the beauty industry instead of only looking in?
Right.
And I think probably one of the best examples that we've done, and we're not groundbreaking with this at all, but was when we invested in Google and SEO. That stuff is not glamorous. It's not immediate. It doesn't have this crazy change on your business overnight, which is what most people are looking for. Mm-hmm. But it led to a powerful impact. It definitely wasn't even certainly the obvious choice, because I don't think Jen was bought in the beginning. But then we both became curious about, like, how do people choose a salon? Not how do we get clients? How are the clients choosing the salon? Mm-hmm. See, it's a little bit different of a question.
And also, we look at the industry and like, how are clients choosing a salon today? Not how have they always chose a salon, right? If we were there, I would have said, Todd, you get referrals from when your clients leave, they tell their friends, and that's how clients come in. Because 15 years ago, that was a big chunk of how clients came in. In today's world, that's very different. So you have to approach how you're going to grow those clients in a very different way. If you're still on only referrals, you're just doing it how they've always been done. You haven't looked at other avenues.
Yeah, and asking those questions when it comes to marketing is what led us down a completely different path. Now, years later, say 4 years later, I don't know exactly, that curiosity led to one of our biggest, I would say, advantages that we have with our salon. We don't have to stress about new clients because it's a faucet that's always on.
Yes.
It's not something that we turn off. It's not something that we're like, hey, let's back off on this. Now, there have been times we had the flood, we turned off our marketing because we didn't want to bring new clients into the place that we were at was below our standard. And we had to figure out how to keep people working, et cetera, et cetera. And we focused on taking care of our current clients the best possible way we could. And that meant eliminating new clients, which we had new clients. And luckily they were understanding. And I think some of them are still with us. But there are always going to be circumstances and you've just got to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
I think also most people stop at that first sort of surface level of questioning when they're trying to figure something out. So I know I use this for an excuse, but people are asking, like, should I raise my prices or how do I raise my prices? Rather than asking, what would have to be true for a price increase to make sense? And then go, am I doing these things? Am I meeting these requirements? And then going through, what is it, the 5 whys? Ask why, and then ask why 5 more times. Because you keep peeling back layers.
Yeah.
So somebody might be listening to this episode and they're going to immediately think, should I run Google Ads? I'm not sure. Do you have a target clientele? And how are those people actually choosing a salon? How are they finding it? Are you able to reach them there? Is it Google? It might not be.
Again, what makes sense for you and your not only target audience, but also your budget. You might, when Todd came to me with the way we do things now, I was like, we can't afford that. And then it was, we can't afford not to. So how do we figure this out? Knowing it's a long-term goal or a marathon pace. And can we keep that up for the amount of time it's going to take to see results that will then be worth it for us? We just had a mentoring call today. We went through a bunch of this stuff with, her name is Rachel, sweet girl. She was asking about marketing and trying to make, we had to make it make sense for her and what she was trying to do. And she was like, oh, that makes so much sense. She doesn't need to do what we do. She's a sole operator. I can't talk.
Yeah, hiring is another one. And this is one of my favorite things that we've recently started putting out on the podcast, Jen. But a lot of people are like, how do I hire stylists? Right. If you frame that as, why would someone choose to work here in the first place? That might solve some of your problems. Like, why would somebody choose to work here is a different question than how do I hire stylists? So again, why would someone choose to work here? We've already talked about this in other episodes, but it's not because you're saying luxury over and over again. It's not because you have parking spots. It's not because you have snacks. Those things aren't differentiators of businesses. Every business has parking. Every salon says they're luxury. Every salon, except ours, has snacks.
Yeah.
Those things aren't what separates you. Also, so the deeper the questions, the more useful your answers are going to be. And that's why the curiosity matters. Mm-hmm. It's not because curious people have more ideas. It's because they spend more time asking the next layer of question because they're curious. And most people try to answer better questions or try to answer the questions, where I think a tier A owner or a great business owner in general would learn to ask better questions.
I think too, when you ask, like how you just posed it, why would someone want to work here? You might go through your systems and all of the things that you do offer, and you're like, I don't know if anyone would want to work here right now. We have a lot of holes here that we need to fill. So it kind of does two things. You're asking a better question to find a better fit, but you're also challenging the systems and your mission statement and all the things you stand for and making sure that it's still aligning with who you are and how you want your business to operate.
Or Jen, on the flip side, maybe you do have some really amazing things, but you're not telling anybody.
Right. Like, why am I not mentioning these things? They're great.
Exactly. How many times have we seen an ad or talked to somebody? A bunch of times is the answer, but we'll be helping somebody and they'll have an ad out and their ad is an empty station. So it's just an empty chair with a station with nothing going on. That's the picture. And the copy is like, come work here. It's luxury. We're flexible. We have parking. And then we get to talking to the person and we're like, you are really cool. I would work. Like, that sounds fun. You guys have a lot of fun there. Why aren't you talking about this stuff? Right. Every freaking salon has a salon chair. You don't need to show me that. Every salon has a station with a mirror. You don't need to show me that. Tell me your story. Tell me why it's different to be there. Those are the things that are going to attract people. The other piece of bad advice that I see, Jen, is when people say stuff like, oh, just be patient. That's not helping anybody at all. Patience is active. Complacency is passive. And what you're saying is be complacent because you're not giving any other follow-up anything. Just be patient is lazy. Because I disagree with that 100%. Patience doesn't mean just waiting. It means that you're engaged. So we needed to, quote unquote, be patient with our marketing. That didn't mean that we weren't measuring the data. We weren't looking at reports. We weren't learning. We weren't adjusting. We weren't paying attention. No, of course we were doing those things. Just be patient. If we did that, we would have no idea if our marketing was working or not. And then eventually we'd go, oh, cool, it's working. We have more people than we did before, except we didn't pay attention, so we don't know why.
Right.
That's a very fragile place to be in for a business. You have to pay attention. You're going to have to watch your reports. You're going to have to look for opportunities and be ready for when they present themselves. You're going to have to continue asking questions and staying curious. Complacency is just, I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's
where
not
patience, not a plan at all.
No.
Where patience is, in my opinion, is I'm paying attention because I want to understand what's happening. Those are completely different mindsets. Right. One's intentional, the other is passive. Yeah, I have a bunch of notes on that, but I think that's kind of...
Yeah, it was good.
That's kind of cool on that topic. So frameworks. I think this is something that's underrated and something that people wait around for someone to tell them how to create. So you're going to need certain frameworks in your business. You're going to need certain structures. Think of your foundation as your business foundation. Basically, if we were building a house, you would need a foundation. And in business, that foundation isn't obviously a concrete pad somewhere. It is your mission, your vision, your core values. That's what everything's built off of. Think of your frameworks then like the scaffolding that comes up off of that foundation that you can attach things to, and that holds it up. So for us, you know, the 5 modes episode we did where we realized what mindset we're in, you can go back and check that out. That's a framework. We created that to give ourselves peace of mind and be able to focus on things. So we know when we need to work with people, we're in a leadership mode, and that needs to be the mode we're focused on. We know when we're in operations mode, when you're behind the chair, you're servicing clients, et cetera, et cetera. When you're building systems, you have to be in systems mode, so on and so forth. The tier A framework that we came up with, we asked ourselves, how would the top industry leaders in any industry think about particular problems? That became our tier A sort of framework. Our hiring philosophy, that was something that we worked on over, I don't know, did that take us 2 years, 3 years?
Somewhere. I'd say 2, I think.
So it took us like 2 years, and now we have a 4-part framework for hiring. This is what it looks like when we hire, period.
And we weren't not hiring those 2 years. We were just working out the kinks to make it a better system.
Yeah, we were developing it because you have to start with something.
Yes.
So you have what's called minimal viable product, and that's what you put out. So for us, it was we were moving a little too fast. And it was either exposing people that weren't as good as we thought they led us to believe, or it was exposing people that weren't ready for our level of education. Or it was exposing people that didn't want to really work on the floor. They wanted to be assistants forever. And those were the people we didn't want to work with. So we had to ask ourselves, how do we fix this? What can we add in? How do we restructure it? And then we came up with the coming into chat, the shadowing, blah, 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 blah. You can go back and listen to the episode. And none of those things started, like Jen said, as frameworks. They started as frustrations. So we would ask questions to ourselves, even if we didn't really know at the time we were asking these questions, because this was a few years ago. But now we know. So we're like, wait a second, is this a framework? But either way, back then we would ask ourselves, why does this keep happening?
Yeah.
When we would think about other people, we would think, why are owners stuck on these problems? Why are businesses busy, for example, but not improving?
Right.
Like they're busy and they're doing all these things, but they're behind the scenes failing and barely holding on. Why do some teams thrive and other teams struggle? Like culturally, what does that look like? And so we came up with certain frameworks, and I think we've been pretty open with those. I think we've shared everything that we've come up with.
I think so too.
I'm pretty sure every system we've ever built, not word for word, because I'm not a fan of that. I've had people in the past who are like, can you just give me your handbook? And I'm like, you need to write your own handbook. I can give you help with it, but if you don't write it, then you're not going to be bought in. And if you're not bought in as the leader, how are you expecting anyone else to buy in? Also, what we're doing is not going to work for you. You're not the same as Hello, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and if you don't see the value in creating your own playbook, handbook, whatever you want to call it, then why are you even doing this?
Yeah. So I think go back and try to think about frameworks and try to think about building the next level of your business. Again, if you don't have the foundation, you need to start there. I truly believe in that. I don't think that's ever going to change. I think that is something that will hold up for the next decades and decades because I don't see another way to build a business. If you don't have core values, like what are you doing? Right. So while I'm saying don't listen to advice from 25 years ago, I'm also saying listen to some advice from 25
some
years
is sound.
Exactly. It's just how everything is built. You have to start with a strong foundation or it can only get so high before
you'll collapse.
The wind blows it over. Yeah, exactly. This next note that I had in here was to build your own future, not inherit it. And I think the people that will sit around saying things like, oh, just be patient, and they're just sitting there passive, are the people that are going to lose out in the long run. And they probably already have lost out. And if you're not participating in the future and you're not thinking about the future, and I'm not talking about being revolutionary or completely overhauling an industry, I'm just talking about take what's coming down the line and figure out how to use it, figure out how you can make it yours, or maybe even put your mind ahead and ask yourself questions like, where do I want this business to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Mm-hmm. Even if you don't own it, even if your mindset is, I want to build this business and sell it because I watched Shark Tank and that's what they do. All right, cool. But what do you want the business to look like? Hopefully you care enough to care beyond when you own it, right? Mm-hmm. So let's use technology for a quick example. People sometimes are, not sometimes, but in this industry, and I think we're going to do an episode on it, so I won't get crazy, but the AI thing. AI is not coming. AI is here. You have been using AI for years, and you probably don't even realize it. Every time you use Netflix and they give you suggestions, that's AI algorithms. Every time you put a filter on your phone, on a picture on your phone, that's AI. There's all this AI stuff that people are like, I hate AI, I'm never going to use it. Cool. You're going to lose out. And it's not because AI robots are going to be cutting people's hair. It's going to be because businesses are going to understand how to leverage this stuff to basically increase exponentially the amount of work that they can output. Mm-hmm. So if you are somebody that businesses are already asking this stuff, again, we're going to talk about it, I think, in a future episode, but businesses are already going, all right, I have a team of 5, and now all of a sudden I'm getting done what a team of 20 could get done. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people go, AI is going to take jobs. Not really. So smart business owners and leaders in industry are going, holy shit, if I can take 15 people or 5 people and quadruple it, what if I hire 20 people?
Right.
And they could get the work done of 80 people. That's how a leader thinks. That's how a tier A operator thinks. Not, oh my God, what if AI takes my job? That's not, AI robots aren't going to be cutting people's hair, at least anytime soon.
Right.
Look, we were promised when we were kids flying hoverboards. We were promised all this cool stuff from the Jetsons. Look, it's not here. That crazy technology, I don't know. Maybe it's coming. But for right now, I know I've seen some crazy stuff, Jen. I don't know if you have on social media of robots in Japan that actually are cutting people's hair. I think we're a long way off before that becomes the norm.
Right.
That's just somebody that's like, what can I build with this?
They're curious. That's all.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's what they're supposed to be doing. Right. But you should be getting excited about different technologies. For example, if you even are somebody so think about how clients find salons. Some of them are asking their chat.
Right.
Chat GPT or Claude or Perplexity or whoever. They're saying, hey, what's the best salon for me? These are my problems. What salon solves that best? Mm-hmm. Better believe that AI is on your website looking. When I know for a fact that they're not on some of your websites because I track it and I look at people's websites, and a lot of them, AI isn't even on.
Right.
It's not even acknowledging that you exist. So again, I'm not saying I'm better because I use AI. I'm just saying that I'm curious enough to explore it, and it is getting us clients. So that's just how it goes. I think, too, people sometimes need a cosign, or Jen will say, if you need permission, here it is. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk about that last. Your ideas, whoever you are, they're worth exploring. You don't have to do what industry gurus tell you to do. You don't have to do what some conglomerate that put out a course told you to do. You can do what you want to do.
And you should.
And if there's one thing that people leave this episode, if they're still listening, I hope it's this. Your ideas are worth exploring. Not every idea is going to work. Some are going to fail. Some, like mine, should fail. You realize they're stupid when you get into them a little bit, and that's okay. That's part of building something meaningful, though.
Mm-hmm.
That curiosity without the courage to explore, it's just entertainment. Ideas don't change industries. Ideas don't accelerate your business. Action on those ideas change industries and accelerate your business. You don't have to only let traditional thinking exist. You can, if it's safer for you and you are like, look, I'm going to build it this way because it's a proven model that works, that's cool. But then what? Because you can't just sit on that business forever. You'll eventually become dated. And we've seen that happen with businesses. Jen, I don't know how many businesses we've seen, but they are doing great for 10, 20, 30, however many years. And then all of a sudden they're closed because they just kept doing the same thing. Right. That's what I would argue. I don't know for a fact, but I would argue that's what happens. And sometimes you even hear from people that's what happens.
Mm-hmm. I think, too, if you sit in that too long, like this is just going to let it ride out, there's a point where the hill is so big to climb up for your curiosity, for any ideas that you have, that you're like, this, I waited too long. And then it doesn't mean you can't come back from it, but it's going to be a lot harder. Where, like Todd said, if you're curious every year, you're always challenging things that you're doing, then you're always going to be making little adjustments into the future, which is much better than having to make leaps.
For sure. I think, too, we talked about tradition and that. Don't let tradition become a substitute for your own thinking. Mm-hmm. Don't let an educator become that either. A substitute for your own thinking or your own creativity or your own curiosity because you're just following them. Certainly don't let us become a substitute for your own thinking or your own judgment. You should learn from everyone. Don't outsource your thinking, though. Take what you learn. I've been to education events that I don't know really how to word it. We went to one a while back, Jen. It was just super dated, and this was a while back, so I don't know if they've changed anything. But it was so dated that I was like, I feel like I'm in an '80s training manual. No offense, but I learned some stuff. You have to take what you can out of everything,
and it should be inspiration.
Yeah, even if it's inspiration of what not to do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's how I looked at it. They had I don't want to say exactly what it was because people will know, and I'm not trying to trash anybody, but they had a particular way on how to onboard. And I was like, I will never do that. I will never, ever do that. It's just crazy. But take what you learn and then test it, question it, improve it, and then make it your own. I think that's the most important thing you could do for your own business.
Agreed.
I don't know what else to say. I guess that, if you're someone that's curious and you're somebody that is excited about what's possible in the future instead of being afraid of the future and living in the past, I think you're going to find a lot more success than the people that's just how it is.
Right. Yeah. And you will stand out. It may take a bit, but you will.
Awesome. Anything else, Jen? Anything to add?
Nope.
The people want to know.
I always say, have a great day.
Jen.
Stop it.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.